Perfect. Hi, everybody. It is such a pleasure to have you join us for a conversation today and a virtual info session or open house, so to speak, for our Open Horizon DCALF Heirs Property and Estate Planning Fellowship. To kick us off, we'll do quick introductions of the DCALF team, and then we'll invite the people in the room today to introduce themselves. And for anyone who's viewing this after the fact, feel free to reach out to us if you would have any questions prior to the application window closing. But to kick us off, I am Gabby Molnick-Majewski. I am the very proud executive director of DC Affordable Law Firm. I've been with the organization for more than 5.5 years now, and this opportunity and program is one of my favorite things to talk about. And so we're delighted to have you here today. Dennis,
Wonderful.
can I kick it? Or Samuel, go ahead, take it away.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Samuel. I manage our probate and estate planning practice here at DCALF. I actually joined DCALF back in 2019 as a first-year fellow after graduating from Georgetown Law and fell in love with the organization, the people, the mission, the work, and stayed as a senior associate and now manage our probate and estate planning practice. And I'm really excited about y'all's interest and to talk a little bit more about this really amazing opportunity that we're able to extend.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dennis Trujillo. I am an outgoing fellow with the DC Affordable Law Firm. I am one of Samuel's supervisees. I'm part of the probate and estate planning team. And yeah, my fellowship ends in this November.
And I should note for the benefit of everyone, and we'll talk about this a little bit more as we get into it, Dennis's fellowship program is actually different than the Open Horizon DCALF Heirs Property Fellowship Program. Dennis started before that program even existed, which is phenomenal. And so Dennis is part of what we call our signature fellowship program for DCALF. There are differences that I'm happy to talk through as part of the conversation today, but the Open Horizon opportunity is something new and unique. And in fact, this month, marks the start of our first ever Open Horizon DCALF Heirs Property Estate Planning, Heirs Property and Estate Planning Fellowship. It's a long name, but inclusive of everything. So so just to kick things off, and for those of you who may not be familiar with DCALF, at DC Affordable Law Firm, we really talk about one central thing as being our guiding light. And I have this t-shirt to show because it's part of our logo, but it's really part of our ethos and what we do as an organization. DCALF is about bridging the gaps that exist in DC for DC residents. So our tagline is, we are bridging the gaps in DC's civil justice system, but there are a multitude of gaps that exist for DC residents. Certainly, we know, and the reason DCALF was born as an organization 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago now, is really because there were many clients or many individuals who are DC residents who didn't have somewhere to go to address their legal needs, and particularly so for folks who are modest incomes, so not necessarily in the lowest economic thresholds and echelons here in the district, but folks who could not afford high quality or any legal representation, that the economic barriers were such that many people were being priced out of the marketplace and had nowhere to go for representation. And so that was the launching point for DCALF. And we've continued to expand upon that work by using innovation and launching new programs to fill the gaps and ensure that people across a wide array of civil justice issues and areas have the opportunity to receive the legal advice and representation that they need. We deliver those services now for free to 99% of the individuals that we serve at DCALF, removing even more barriers to representation. And we are committed to continuing to populate the next generation of public interest advocates, because we know that the needs of residents of the District of Columbia are profound, and we need more talented, committed, passionate people in this space who are willing and ready and trained to be able to do the public interest representation that our community members deserve. And so that's DCALF in a nutshell. I will talk a little bit more specifically, though, about the Heirs Property and Estate Planning program here at DCALF, and I'm going to invite into the conversation Samuel and Dennis to do the same. But one of the key foundational points about that practice here at DCALF is that we see our work in the heirs property and estate planning space as really essential in helping to move the needle and build economic security for residents of the District of Columbia. DCALF has been doing work in probate and estate planning since 2019, so right around the time Samuel joined as a fellow. And we have seen incredible growth in this program through some intentional efforts to build and expand our probate team, the size of our probate team, the depth of the work that we take on, and the partnerships that fuel our ability to do that work. And so DCALF, since 2019, we have experienced a 1,300% increase in the volume of clients that we serve annually through our probate and heirs property and estate planning practice. Hi, Akila, and apologies if I've mispronounced your name there, but welcome into the space. And for those of you who are in the room right now and not viewing this after the fact, I would be most grateful if you could slop into the chat, just confirming your year at Howard and when you are due to be graduating, because we know that there's an opportunity here right now, but our hope is that this is a program we'll be able to continue into the future. And so we want to just get a sense of you and ensure that we're being responsive as we present this information. But to keep things going, so our heirs property and estate planning work, we really focus on both the probate and heirs property work and that remedial work to help people clear title to homes so that we can get marketable title for individuals, as well as the proactive estate planning piece that we know helps mitigate heirs property issues, but also empowers people to plan. At DCALF, we say planning for your health and your wealth, because we know that these are under-discussed conversations and really important to the work. So with that, I'm going to invite in Samuel and certainly Dennis to share some experiences as a fellow doing heirs property and estate planning work, and then we can talk about some of the logistics of this fellowship opportunity.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much for that, Gabby. And again, thank you all so much for joining us today. So as Gabby was indicating, there's kind of two buckets of work that our probate and estate planning attorneys will practice in. There's the kind of the addressing the problem before it happens through the planning portion. And then there's the resolving any issues that happen kind of through the probate process, right? So in the estate planning process, you're drafting the wills, you're drafting the trusts, you're drafting the power of attorneys. Very similar to the work that you have been doing at the clinic. With that kind of, most of the clients that we have real property, and you have that kind of heirs property consideration, right? If I give this house, if mom has 3 kids and she wants to give the house to the 3 kids tenants in common, does that make sense? Maybe sometimes not. If 3 kids who really don't like each other are inheriting a property as tenants in common and they all can occupy the whole property, what are some of the problems that might happen? And then if they then pass to their kids, do we really want a house with 15 co-tenants in it, right? Maybe there are instances where that does make sense. Maybe there's instances that that doesn't make sense, right? And to have those conversations on the front end, to be intentional about heirs property issues, both in how the estate plans are drafted, but also ways that, sometimes probate can be complicated, right? So if you can do a transfer on death deed, if you can do a trust, if you can take advantage of some of the tools that DC has to make the process as streamlined, as seamless, as smooth as possible, not just for the house, but also for cash, right? Say that there's a bank account. Does a payable on death, account make sense? So it automatically transfers at death, or does it actually make sense to go into the estate because of many other reasons, right? So many of the considerations that you all are kind of engaging in the clinic right now, or that you have engaged in the clinic, are what we kind of take into our estate planning practice. And the whole point is address the problems before they happen to create seamless and successful and intentional transfers of all wealth and all possessions, but in particular, real property, because that can be a generationally transformative asset, right? So that's kind of the planning side. There's also the other side of the probate side, right? And DCALF sees people at many different walks of life when it comes to the probate space. Some of them, a loved one just died. Mom just died. I saw somewhere that something needed to happen. I want it to happen. I don't know what to do. Can you help me, right? So you're dealing with someone who recently lost a loved one and helping them navigate those things, right? Many times people, for one reason or another, think that they either own the property, the house, or they know that they don't, but can't focus on doing what needs to happen. So then maybe kid is living in mom's house, mom's died, they're paying property taxes, they're paying the mortgage, they think everything's fine, and then they get a foreclosure notice, or then they get a tax sale, or they try to apply for a government benefit, right? Oh, I learned of this grant where I can get money to make my house accessible. Let me apply for that, right? Wait, I don't own the property. And then they have to untangle what they could have done in the past to make sure that title is in their name so they can reap the benefits of being a title holder and protect against the risks of not being a title holder, right? So it's a cool thing. I know at the clinic you all work on both sides of the coin with kind of a focus. My understanding is with the estate planning side, but you get to see both the estate planning and the probate side to ensure that one's legacy is passed and enjoyed for generations to come, both in the planning space and also in the actual transferring space. So that's kind of the general summary of the type of buckets that attorneys will practice in. And one of the cool things before I kick it to Dennis, and I'd love to hear some of Dennis's more kind of practical on the ground experience, is the cool thing about DCALF is there's so much experience that you all, hands-on experience that our fellows are able to get. You're not drafting a provision in a will, for a partner to kind of incorporate, right? You're not doing some discrete research project for someone else to kind of handle. You're the ones meeting with the clients. You're the ones filing things. You're the ones drafting the documents. A lot of the hands-on experiences that you all got in the clinic, which is so incredible, are directly transferable to the work that you'll be doing at DCALF. And even more clients and even more work. So that's kind of just a general kind of summary of the type of experiences that one can get in the DCALF kind of fellowship program. And I'll kick it, I guess, unless Gabby, there's anything I missed, I'll kick it over to Dennis to share some of his experiences.
No, I think that's great, Samuel. And certainly, as Samuel noted, DCALF is one of two organizations in the district. We are running the city's first ever heirs property assistance program. And so as we have expanded that work, we have also expanded the estate planning work as well. And our team, correct me if I'm wrong on this, Samuel, but our team is about 12 people strong of our folks who are either fully in our probate and estate planning practice, or like Dennis, spending time in that work, but also in another area of practice within DCALF. Dennis, why don't you share with us a bit about your experiences in this fellowship? And I would say one of the distinguishing points is that you came to DCALF without having any background or training or real exposure to probate and estate planning. So I'd love to hear from a learning standpoint how you've oriented to this space in work, the clients you've gotten to serve, and the work you've gotten to do. And I think that's really special for all of you because you have that leg up from having that foundation of deep exposure, not just through coursework, but certainly through the clinic and those hands-on opportunities that our hope is you'll be able to continue to build upon.
Yeah, I'll definitely talk about my experience. I wish after a year of being in the program already, I wish that I had that background experience dealing with probate estate administration just to understand how actually intricate and complex the process is and why so many people don't even participate in the process because they don't know. There's so many hoops to jump through, there's so many obstacles in their way, especially when someone in their family has died. Oftentimes it's their parents. Like these are people in very, very sensitive time periods in their lives going through really emotionally charged situations, and no one is there to help them go through the process, right? And that's essentially where we have come in. And Samuel knows super intimately. I have a lot of clients, probate clients in particular, where they are going through something super, super difficult for them, right? And without us, without anyone there to help them, they would not know what to do. They wouldn't know what filings to make. They wouldn't know who to contact about what. So I'm super grateful about this program because I think it's been a really good look as to how there's different ways that we bridge the justice gap, right? Like probate is not something that people generally think about because people think that, if someone dies, the property goes to me and that's it. But there's a lot of hoops to jump through. And I think that's been one of the biggest eye opening things for me being in this program. And one of the things that I really love is also just being the person communicating with clients. Like I'm on the phone with clients, I'm texting with clients, sending them emails, they're emailing me, calling me, and we have good rapport, I would say, with a lot of my clients. And it's just really nice to see where they were when they first became my client to where things are now and how I can see that cases are progressing in a very positive way.
Dennis, can you tell us a little bit about a probate client that perhaps just kind of a sense of what you've gotten to do for this person and perhaps as well on the estate planning side, if you're able?
Yeah, so I'll start with the planning side. I had one client who he was terminally ill and he came with us looking to get his documents executed as quickly as possible. He wanted a will to make sure all of his stuff went to his kids. He wanted powers of attorney in case his health, you know, got to a point where he actually could not make decisions on his own behalf and needed someone else to step in for him. We were able to do that super quickly. I actually visited his home a couple times just to refine the documents, make sure everything represented his wishes. We were able to execute all the documents pretty quickly. Um, I obviously I haven't spoken to him since then. He's no longer our client, but it was really nice to be able to give someone such a helpful service in such a short amount of time. But we know that that was like the most important thing that they needed at the moment. So very grateful for that experience. And then on the probate side, I actually had one client who was still our client, and um, she was going through probate years ago, and her mother passed. She suffered her own health circumstances where she could not fulfill her obligations as a personal representative. So 3 years passed, the estate closed. Now the bank who has the mortgage on the home is coming in and trying to foreclose on her property. She doesn't have any authority to communicate with the bank because she has, no active letters of administration. She lives in the home, has no authority to talk on behalf of the home. So the bank wanted to foreclose. We've been helping her to reopen the estate, get her appointed as personal representative again, and now we're sort of in a conversation with the bank to see, what, if anything, they could do for us going forward. But that's sort of the work that I've been primarily focused on.
Yeah, and just adding some context to that, because I think that case is a really good paradigmatic case of the kind of work that you'll do. So basically in DC, cases are automatically open for 3 years if they're kind of unsupervised. And we don't have to get in the weeds of that, but they'll close automatically after those 3 years. And many times clients will come to us where they'll say, "Yeah, I opened my mom's house estate. I thought that the house transferred, but I guess it didn't. What kind of thing? Like it's such a, they think that they do something right. Or as Dennis said, with this client, the client got sick, the client got overwhelmed, and they're like, I opened the estate. I just couldn't deal with talking to a settlement company and a title attorney and getting a deed drafted up. So the case closed. And then there was a foreclosure case brought. And what Dennis actually did was he creatively drafted a motion for expediting an expedited reopening of the case because of the pending foreclosure case, coordinated with foreclosure counsel for legal aid, and basically got the estate open like 2 or 3 days after his motion for the expedited reopening, and now is working directly with um, the bank, well, the bank who owns the mortgage, to get her to become what's called successor in interest, not to get in the weeds of anything, so then she can get the property. So really that the tangible benefit of it is a property that is in limbo, but with Dennis's, work and advocacy, this property is going to be in her name, and she's going to be able to resolve the foreclosure, and then also reap the benefits of this house. So yeah, it's really cool. I think it's a great example, and also creative lawyering. That there's the initial process, but that motion to expedite reopening, given the risk of foreclosure, to get that property, that estate reopened immediately, I think was pretty was awesome that Dennis was able to do that, and it's just going to pay such dividends for the client. And Gabby, I think if you're talking, it doesn't look like you're muted, but we can't hear you. So I'm not sure if maybe something with your mic went out. Um,
Done.
now you're muted, but I think you're good. I think once you unmute, you'll be back in. I think um, we I think, Gabby, we still can't hear you, but I can, while you're working out the microphone, I do think I'm gonna open it up, and once Gabby comes in, if she has an initial thought, but while she's working out the microphone, I do, if anyone has any questions that they want to pop in the chat, or that they want to lift up, we'd love to hear them. Dennis, one other thing I'd love to hear from you. I think one of my favorite things about DCALF when I was a fellow, and one of the things that I love about DCALF is the clinical kind of training model that DCALF brings to the new attorneys. And so if you don't mind kind of sharing a little bit about some of the training you got, particularly in the probate sense, because the Open Horizon fellows will get the probate training experience, and then also just the direct supervision and the mentorship that our fellows receive. I think that'd be really helpful to kind of share out about.
Yeah, we spent a few weeks doing a very deep dive into the probate code, and also just any rules relating to estate planning, planning for incapacity, and also planning for death and what happens after death. We spent a very, very good amount of time getting ready to actually take on clients. I think it was super helpful, 100%. However, when you do get your first client and you come up against an issue for the first time ever, you might have the background of all the rules and stuff, but it's still very, very difficult to manage where to go from here, right? Because every client looks different, every case looks different, every client is at a different stage in that case. But the training gives a very, very in-depth background with everything that you need in order to be able to handle that first case. In terms of supervision, I'm assuming my supervision is going to look a little bit different than this particular fellowship because I have a family law supervisor, and Samuel, who's the probate and estate planning supervisor. Um, I would say that we have an incredible supervisor-supervisee relationship, and it's never the sort of feedback that's going to make you feel bad about the work that you're doing. It's very constructive. We are a team trying to do the best work for this client. So how can we all get better in order to do that for the client? And I think that's one of the things I love the most about the fellowship model is that we get really good supervision, and we're also on the ground doing the work. So sure, we'll take steps to take the case on and go forward this way. Maybe we need to reevaluate and go this way, and it's all for the betterment of the client. I think that's one of the best things about the fellowship model.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it's yeah. Oh, and Gabby, you're back in case you,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah.
Go ahead, Samuel.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I like loved hearing that from Dennis, and I completely agree. It really is. We're a team to try to get the best results for the client, but also we really do have this deep commitment to the development of the fellows, and DCALF was founded, as Gabby kind of indicated, on building the future of public interest attorneys, the next generation of attorneys kind of fighting for equal access to justice, right? So I think it's so cool to kind of, just Dennis is, in his a year and change out, or, about a year and change out, to kind of just see the growth and the development where, Dennis is running with cases just with very minimal supervision on my end. And to think where you were at, in October, November of last year, it's pretty cool. It's one of my favorite things about the model of DCALF. It's always sad to say bye to people. It's really, really sad, but to kind of know that those who can stay or those who don't stay after their fellowship ends, to be able to know that they are taking their talents, their passions, their skills to the next juncture to do good work it's one of my favorite things about DCALF. So I'm happy to share. I see some questions in the chat. I'm happy to kind of go into them, unless Gabby, you had anything that you wanted to share while you were on mute. Yeah.
I think that's great. I want to make sure so I would like to introduce and welcome in Professor Kiva Terry, one of our wonderful partners. We are so glad to have you here. And I would say in general, the enthusiasm of our entire Howard team about this opportunity. This is an opportunity, it's something that I personally kind of wished would come into fruition, and we are just so delighted to have this opportunity. I wish we had space for many more fellows, and perhaps we will in future years. But we're really, really glad to have you all here, and certainly both Professor McIntosh and Professor Terry are here and able to answer questions for you as you're considering this opportunity outside of this conversation today. But yes, let's turn to your specific questions. And if you joined later and didn't see all of the links that I've added to the chat, or share about your graduation timeline, please do so. And I'm happy to repost the links I shared previously as well. All right, Samuel, take it away.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah, so two fabulous questions, and please continue to bring these fabulous questions. So there was a question about with the fellowship, is there both going to be probate experience and estate planning, or is it just one or the other? So no, it's both. And the cool thing about the 2 years in particular is that, there's so much growth and the development and expertise that can be, gained and build on. The other thing that I know Gabby and Dennis also both indicated, that you're not coming to this space cold. You're coming to this space with a really amazing clinical experience being taught by the leaders in the field, right? How cool is that? And then you can come to DCALF to continue to build on those skills that you already have. So no, it's going to be probate. Our work is both probate and planning, because it really is two sides of the same coin, right? Be intentional about putting into place thoughtful plans to avoid problems in the long term, but also ensure that the plans that are in place, when they're put in place, they're honored successfully. And when people may not have put the plans in place, you can ensure that to the greatest extent possible, you're able to still ensure that the decedents wishes, or at least required transfers according to law, are honored so the next generation can reap the benefits of their legacy. So 100% planning and probate, deep training in both, deep supervision in both, a lot of robust work in both. So that's a fabulous question.
And
I guess
Samuel,
yeah,
can I just jump
sure,
in there real
yeah.
quick? So I think one thing that is really phenomenal about there are many things phenomenal about this fellowship, but one of the things, because this is a new opportunity, and this fall will be the first that we have our first Open Horizon DCALF Heirs Property and Estate Planning Fellow, Marie MJ Altador, who was in Maleffi's clinic previously, and certainly worked with Professor Terry as well, that much of the exact distribution of how much probate versus how much estate planning, a lot of that we are intentionally keeping open at this point, because we know we want to both be nimble and responsive to the needs of clients who walk in the door and are able to kind of swell and expand and do one more than the other, or have one person do more of one or the other at different points in time, to meet the needs of the community members. The other piece, though, is that we want our fellows, by the time they have ended this 2-year fellowship opportunity, to really be ready to take on their next professional endeavor. Sometimes we are able to keep people at DCALF post-fellowship for the folks who have been through our signature fellowship program. But oftentimes, and one of the things that I find particularly cool about fellowship at DCALF is that we are very intentional about setting our people up for success and working with our fellows to help you identify what are the things you want to be doing post-fellowship, and how can we help facilitate you getting there, both through the experiences you're having across your time as a fellow, but also in the networks that you'll develop with the mentors with whom you'll be able to connect, and tapping into DCALF's vast and ever-growing network of external partners programmatically. And so DCALF to date, we've had more than 60 attorneys who have come through and done a fellowship at DCALF. And of those 60 people, 72%, it's more than 72% now, but 72% have remained in public interest law or in public service or a practice area learned at DCALF. And so it's a real testament to the sticking power of the fellowship, but also the versatility, because we don't want to say every attorney who's going to come through the Open Horizon DCALF Heirs Property Fellowship, you will be doing X when you graduate. These are your lives and your choices to make, and we want to help empower you with the breadth of experiences that will make you the most marketable job applicant possible when you reach that point as your fellowship draws to an end. Okay.
And I think just one thing with that, Gabby, too, is it's not just kind of like the standard like networking connections, which we do have a lot of too. There's just a lot of built-in mentorship from external mentors, which is incredible. We work very closely with Legal Counsel for the Elderly, very closely with Legal Aid, very closely with Christian Legal Aid DC, and through certain events that we host, through certain community engagement events, through certain direct mentorship, so we also have connections with, we were founded by two big law firms, DLA Piper and Aaron Fox Schiff. So there's big law mentors who make themselves available for conversations and thought partnership and collaboration. So one of the cool things about, DCALF as a nonprofit, and DCALF kind of committed to access to justice, a lot of people are very willing to lend a phone call and say, yeah, I'd love to brainstorm something with you. And then it's not just you learning for the benefit of the client, but also you forging a connection where people can see your thoughtful analysis and they'd be like, oh yeah, I remember having that conversation with Dennis. He's pretty smart. That's pretty cool, kind of thing. And then when he's applying for something, they're like, yeah, that's great. He's not just someone who, commented on my book, but he's someone who I was able to see really thoughtful questions about how to help a client. So that's another really cool thing about the mentorship. There's that kind of two-prong kind of networking or connections to the external mentors who maybe your employers one day, which is awesome. Cool. There was another fabulous question, and I'm going to kick it to Dennis first to get a fresh voice, and then I do have some thoughts too that I'd love to share. But there was a question that said, I'm interested in when you all began your career in estate planning and what you found the most surprising with probate work and probate in particular. But I think, when you started it, and then also what you found interesting about both, but with a focus on probate.
Yeah, I'll definitely take on that question. So my career in estate planning started like in November of last year. So I haven't really had much experience aside from this fellowship. I knew that I loved property, the class in law school, and I was always driven by that to a certain extent of like, okay, if I'm in this fellowship program, I'd love to be in the probate estate planning team just so I can see firsthand what it looks like to actually like work with property, transfer property, what property rights mean in the context of people's lives in DC. So I think that is how I started. Something that I found particularly surprising is, especially with probate, clients are going through a really difficult time, and a lot of the time they just need to know that someone is looking out for them. They need to know that someone is supporting them, guiding them through this process that is super overwhelming. And it can be really overwhelming for us, the attorneys, as well, because, it might be an issue that we haven't come up across before. And we don't know how to figure it out right then and there, but we know that we can figure out how to deal with something. But the relationships that you build with the client, I think, are so special because it's really like I'm helping you, you're also helping me, because more information I get from you helps me do the work more efficiently. If I can do the work more efficiently, that means a better outcome for you. So it's really like you're quickly building a really good relationship with these strangers, really. Like you don't know these people, but you build such a good relationship in order to help them down the line. I would say that's probably the most surprising thing that I've faced, is how connected you can become with people that you've never met before.
That's awesome. Yeah. Gabby, I don't know if you have reflections. I have some thought. Yeah. So when I started at DCALF back in 2019 after graduating law school, I was actually split. The way DCALF used to be is there were 3 practice areas and you did a little bit of each. So I did a little bit of family, a little bit of immigration, and a little bit of probate and estate planning. And I loved them all, and they were all critical areas of need that DCALF still, walks alongside people in areas of, some of the most vulnerable areas and, times of people's lives. But I really, through my fellowship and through then my continuation at DCALF, really was drawn to probate and estate planning. Knowing that the other 2 areas are critically important. But for me, the idea of being able to walk alongside people as they're contemplating their mortality and being able to think, okay, this is what I've accumulated, this is what I've done, and here's how I want my legacy to go on. And to be the expert in the pitfalls and the issues that people can, stumble upon without knowing, and to say, okay, I got you. Let me hear what your desires are, and let's craft a solution so that your desires can truly be honored. And a weird thing about the law doesn't circumvent your desires, right? And then on the probate side, to the idea of unlocking, some jurisdictions like Virginia, real property drops automatically. It's a drop like a rock or drop like a stone jurisdiction. In DC, it's locked up in a decedent's estate. And the idea of being able to walk alongside someone as they unlock something that's trapped so that they can enjoy it along with other people that the decedent wanted to enjoy it. It's just one of the greatest things in the world for people to be like, this was not accessible to me, and now it is. And you helped me do that. And you protected me, right? One of the scariest things about the whole probate process is if you do something wrong, you can be personally liable for that. I had a potential client come to me, and his mom didn't fully understand what to do. She sold the property to him for about $200,000 under fair market value because she wanted to keep it in the family. And her two other sisters sued her, and the auditor got involved, and she's found $200,000 personally liable for that mistake. And it's going to go into retirement. It's going to be a true disaster, right? And it's scary. She was just trying to do the right thing, right? But she didn't know the right thing. And these rules are so complicated, right? So to be able to kind of help be the dictionary for someone and say, here's the process, here's the roadmap. Now I'll help you get these benefits is just, it's one of the greatest joys in the world. It's a really, really special thing to do.
And I think that you touched on something there that I think is it wasn't exactly in your answer, Samuel, but I think kind of speaks to this area of practice at DCALF is that many people are coming to the work here not having had those experiences that you all have had because we've been doing this work. We have been introducing new fellows to this work for more than, over 6 years, 7 years now at this point. And I think you will be able to tap into and bring the background that you have, but really continue to just find that depth of experience. We always say, or I always say, that one of the downsides of the DCALF Signature Fellowship program that we've had for a number of years is that it's a 15-month program. So really, people are only practicing for 12 months. And what we find is that people really hit their stride right at the end of the fellowship, and then they are going on to their next great opportunity, which is great for all of the clients. They're able to go on to continue serving. It's great for the organizations that have the benefit of our fellows joining, but it's always something that is a bittersweet moment for us because we know the potential is there for our people to keep building and doing things differently. And that is one of the reasons we were so delighted that our partners at Open Horizon, a really phenomenal family foundation here, a small family foundation that is deeply committed to equity and racial equity and using fellowships to expand the practitioners who can get into a body of work that is so essential to driving equity within the law. That when we said, we'd like to partner with you to create this brand new opportunity, one of the things we really would love to do is to make it a 2-year fellowship. And here are all the reasons why, because we know that in the second year of the fellowship, there is an increased level of mastery and independence that just will continue to come. And I think for many of you, with the background that you have from clinic and from your coursework related to probate and trust and estates work, that you'll be able to hit your stride in a much faster way and really be able to plug into many of the unique veins where DCALF is really doing this work to not just do the critical direct representation, but deploy new methods to really reach and tap people differently. So just to kind of hit a few highlights there, we do an outrageous, like very, very high volume of community outreach and education work across the city, but really centered in the wards there where we see most of our clients coming to us. We are the lead organization in mobilizing an event that draws in some other community partners that we do now 3 times annually called Securing Your Legacy, a community gathering on planning probate and property, where we're educating people about estate planning and the pitfalls of heirs property and why estate planning is so important to avoid heirs property, but also getting people in for intakes to actually build a new pool of clients and help people unpack information about their property so that if they think they are the title holder, they can get that confirmation as to whether they are or not and unearth any tax issues related to their property. We are part of a triad of 3 organizations that run the Probate Legal Assistance Network at DC Superior Court, where we have a lawyer who is there twice a month for a dedicated shift to just do rapid response work for people who are appearing and at the Probate Self-Help Center of DC Superior Court. So many of those are folks who are seeking to file a petition the first time around. Others are folks who are coming back because they just truly don't understand the landscape of their probate case and need a deeper level of assistance. And we continue to do more and more to use new strategies to reach more people and ensure that people are getting access to these important tools. And there's some big initiatives underway within the district that I don't want to talk about here, but they all continue to create new moments for us to lean in and bring creative energies for our team to be as impactful as possible. And we are very excited for the Open Horizon DCALF Heirs Property Fellow to be able to do that as well. Okay, with that, I'm going to check for any additional questions. And if there are not, oh, sorry, I didn't see Malefi's goodbye note, but we're grateful very much for the partnership that he brings to bear. And Malefi is very familiar with our work and program. And so please do reach out to him, reach out to Professor Terry, reach out to others in your natural network at Howard to learn more about this opportunity. The other piece, and I guess what I'd like to do in our final minutes or time together, is just touch on a few highlights. Certainly, I had shared again the links that I'll repost again just for added convenience, but there's a lot of information up on our website so you can get a sense of this opportunity, a sense about DCALF's work more broadly, learn more about the clients that we're serving, and really ensure that this feels consistent with what you'd like to be doing once you have your JD in hand. Okay, I'm sharing here those links.
And I'll
again.
also drop my email. I'll drop my email, and hopefully Dennis will be willing to drop his email too, to the extent that you all have any kind of directed questions that you want to kind of talk on the ground. I'd be more than happy to, and I assume Dennis will be more than happy to also.
Okay, so getting down to brass tacks, and I appreciate that very much, Samuel and Dennis. If you are interested in pursuing this opportunity, you must apply through DCALF's website. The posting itself on the employments page of our website has the actual link through which you will apply and upload all of your documents. You must apply by right before midnight, so by 11:59 p.m. on September 15th. We are really eager to ensure that we know this is a stressful period of time for all of you in figuring out next opportunities. And so we want to be able to move quickly in both receiving the applications from folks and be able to move through our interview process so that because we know we only have one of these opportunities. And if you are unfortunately unable to join us as our fellow for the next year, we want you to know that so that you can find your next great opportunity sooner rather than later. But so September 15th, put it in your calendars. Please make a note of that. The posting itself walks through what you'll need: cover letter, resume, transcript. We ask for a 3-page writing sample. So try to keep it within there. And then a list of 3 professional references. Certainly, if you've not had employment experience pre-DCALF, that's okay. We encourage people to think about sharing professors with whom you've worked closely, internship or externship contacts that you've had, and give us a full and collective sense of who you are and the professional pedigree that you'll bring to this opportunity. We are a very close-knit environment and team. DCALF, by the time of your fellowship, will be around 30 person strong, maybe just slightly over that threshold. And though there is only one Open Horizon DCALF Heirs Property Fellow joining, who will be starting in fall of 26, I think one important note is that there will be a year of overlap with our soon to be starting first Open Horizon DCALF Heirs Property Fellow. So there is that overlap of kind of a natural synergy there, but also the fellow will be starting right in the same season as folks who are starting the DCALF Signature Fellowship program. So there will be a cohort of about 10 similarly situated folks who are together kind of navigating this opportunity and the professional learnings and career maturation that comes with that. So just an important note there. But please pay attention to the information on the website. Take a look. Tell us, use the cover letter as an opportunity to really tell us who you are and why you care about this work. Passion is something you can't fake it. And we want to make sure that the people who are able to avail themselves of this opportunity have that same heart and spirit of commitment to community and to our DC neighbors as everyone who walks through the door at DCALF. I'll pause there. I know we have 4 minutes left to go. And if there is nothing further, and I can extend this, but one piece that I think is I'd like to leave you on is just a thought around the breadth of impact that you will be able to have if you pursue and are chosen as DCALF's next Open Horizon DCALF probate and estate, or heirs property and estate planning fellow. DCALF as a whole year to date, so just from the start of January through the end of August, our organization has served 684 individual clients. And of that broader pool of 684, 212 of the people we have served are clients we're serving through our probate and estate planning and heirs property work. And so there is a real, and that's only going to continue to go up because the needs are certainly there. And the more we extend and create opportunities to empower community members with information about this work, the impact will just continue to grow. So it's a really dynamic, amazing opportunity. I wish I had gotten to be a fellow at DCALF in my early career as an attorney. And we look forward to receiving applications from you and many of your peers, and look forward to hopefully getting to know you from there. Perfect. And with that, we will stop recording and we can stay on for a handful of additional minutes in case anyone has last questions. You